thinking overall about your journey, what is one main piece of advice, like the biggest thing you would give to like someone like me or your younger self?
My goodness, I think you're doing it. Being open to learning is a gift. You almost have to teach yourself to do that, but it seems like you already know it.
Welcome to Trailheads and Titans, and join me as we learn from the titans who've paved the way. In this episode, my guest is Mr. David Garofalo. He's the current chairman and CEO of Gold Royalty Corp. Thanks, Mr. David, for joining me today.
Alexander, I'm delighted to be here.
My first question is, could you please introduce yourself and share a bit about what you do?
My name is David Garofalo. I'm chairman and CEO of Gold Royalty Corp, a company I founded with a couple of partners about 5 years ago, took public in March of 2021. But I've been in the mining business now for over 35 years. Before I founded Gold Royalty Corp, I ran Gold Corp and did that in Vancouver, where I'm currently based. And before that, I ran Hudbay Minerals here in Toronto on the copper side. I spent 12 years with Agnico Eagle, a big gold company here as CFO, and also 8 years with Inmet Mining back in the 1990s. That's where I started my mining career.
Thank you. And another question is, what exactly do you do in Gold Royalty Corp?
No, it's an excellent question. So I've spent my entire career in operating companies, so companies that actually own and operate mines, build mines. What Gold Royalty Corp does is provide financing for mine construction. And when we provide that capital to build a mine, we take a royalty on the mine back. And what a royalty is a piece of the revenue. We get a certain percentage of the revenue. It could be 1%, 2%, 3% of the revenue from the mine. So when the mine produces gold, we get 1%, 2%, 3% of that revenue as a repayment for the capital we provide to the mine operators to help build their mines. So we're like a bank, really.
That's really interesting. And looking back, what did you study, and do you think it played an important role in your career?
Certainly, I studied commerce and finance and economics here in Toronto. I was at the University of Toronto at the Rotman School. It wasn't called Rotman back then, but it was the business school at UT at the time. And after that, I graduated and joined Deloitte as a CPA student. At the time, it was called CA. I did my CA there, and then immediately went into mining in 1990. And then my career really grew from there. I started at the very bottom in a very junior position. And I think accounting, finance really prepares you for our industry, because our industry is very capital intensive. And what that means is we spend a lot of money to build mines, and so you have to raise a lot of money to build large mines. And that requires a lot of financial acumen and discipline. And so I think CAs and CPAs are quite well suited for our industry. And it's quite common for CEOs in our business to be from a financial background like my own.
Wow. And where are you originally from?
I was born and raised here about 15 kilometers north of downtown Toronto in North York, Ontario. And my mom, or my dad now, still lives in the house I grew up in. So,
Thank you. And if you had to choose right now, would you study something different?
you know what? If what I covet as an employer running mining companies is somebody who has both a technical and financial background. And so a mining engineer with an MBA is like gold. Those people that have a balance of technical ability and technical experience and financial acumen, they're coveted in our industry because they're probably best suited to be the leaders in our industry, because they understand the technical aspects of our business intimately, but they also understand the financial aspects of our business. Having that balance is extremely important within your management team. Having that within one person is extremely rare.
What kind of careers do you think will be the most important in the future?
Well, in our industry, we have a scarcity of people with strong technical skills. Our mining schools are not turning out enough people to meet our needs long term. When you think about all of the copper we need to electrify our economy, for example, we're going to have to build a lot more mines. And it's not the lack of mineral resource in the ground that worries me. I think we'll find that mineral resource. It's the lack of people with the right skills to build those mines. That's where I think we have a real scarcity, a real shortage that could impede our economy's ability to decarbonize and electrify.
What would someone my age, what would you recommend to them to start learning about to be ready for just everything? Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think the jobs of the future in our industry are the same as they were in the past, but with a good financial balance. As I said, if you are going into a technical field like mining or metallurgy or engineering or whatnot, and balancing that with a financial education, those are the types of leaders that we need in our industry. But strong technical skills, I think, are really important. Frankly, we turn out a lot of financial people. CAs and CPAs are turned out by the accounting firms all the time. I think we can get a lot of good financial people. I think there's a lot of depth because when you go into a financial field, you can go into any industry. So that it tends to attract a lot of students coming out of degree granting institutions and universities. What we lack is people coming out of engineering schools to meet our needs, our technical needs, to build and operate our mines. And so having that balance of stack technical skills, that foundation technical skills, complemented with some financial education. And it doesn't have to be an MBA, it could be an engineer with a CPA or even doing a CFA, for example. That combination of financial and technical skills is really, really important for our industry.
What's the best piece of advice that you think you've ever gotten, and it's something that you still think about like every day?
Yeah, look, I think staying within an industry for as long as you can. It's not to say that you shouldn't move around within the industry and move into new opportunities, but a very important part, probably the biggest asset I have personally, is my my network of people. Not my financial, but my network of people. And when I, for example, created Gold Royalty Corp, I called on some of the people that I've been working with for decades and said, let's get together and build this company together, people that I trust. And then leveraging all of our relationships to build out our business, to find new opportunities to acquire assets and whatnot. Because I brought in a lot of very experienced people that I knew very well. I mined my network of people in order to build this business, and then they mined their networks to acquire assets to build their business. And so that franchise, that network of people, is probably the most important asset that anybody has. But you can't develop that network if you jump in and out of an industry, because every industry, just by its nature, tends to be quite cloistered. It's confined within itself, and you tend to build in networks within the industry. And if you leave the industry, you start those relationships start to wither, and you lose that asset. So if you can pick an industry at some point and stay with it, I think building that network over time is going to be the most valuable asset you have to build your business out.
And was there like ever a time where you took a risk or tried something and it didn't exactly go how you wanted? And did failure teach you something that you thought that success would never be able to?
Yeah, look, I think the interesting thing about our business is, given the risk that's embedded in our business, that's inherent in our business, because we take big risks in building big mines and hoping that it works out, but things can go wrong because you're relying on hundreds and thousands of people to deliver what you promised to the market, as a public company. And I can tell you time and again, we've had failures, big and small, in building mines. And those are, I guess, lessons that you take with you and internalize when you go and do the next big thing. So failure is part of success, right? Experiencing those failures really positions yourself ultimately for achieving success in the long run.
Do you think there's something that you do every day or incorporated into your daily routine that has really helped you succeed?
Yeah, look, I think one thing I like to do is maintain physical fitness. And I apologize, I'm dressed like this because I just came down from the gym, because I try to find, no matter how late I've been out in an evening or travel, I try to find time, particularly when I'm traveling, to keep physically fit. It keeps me alert mentally, and I think allows me to perform at my best level.
Mhm. And if you could attribute all your success just in general to one specific thing, apart from like the exercise and everything, what do you think it would be?
I think having a very stable family life is super important. Nothing motivates you more than having to support a family. I think that gave me a clarity of purpose and motivated me to be as strong as I could be within my business, because I wanted to make sure that, with my children, my wife, that I was in a position to make sure that they had what they needed. And honestly, that creates a bit of fear in you, but it also motivates you and inspires you to be the best person you can be, both professionally and personally.
What's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal? That's a good question. I have two dogs, and I love those dogs, and they love me. The loyalty is fierce. I tell you, when I wake up in the morning, they're waiting for me. When I come home from a trip, they're at the door waiting for me. And sometimes when I'm just sitting in my home office trying to do some work, they're just standing at me, anticipating a walk or whatever. They're expecting me to perform for them. And I kind of love having that dependence, because as my kids grow up, I've lost, they're becoming independent, and I like having that dependence still. I guess you get addicted to supporting and provide support to children. And then when the children grow up, then you're looking for some other dependence. And dogs are sweet and loyal, and so yes, they're definitely my favorite animals.
What breeds?
So I have a Portuguese water dog and a Labradoodle.
Oh wow. And just thinking overall about your journey, and just before we wrap up, what is one main piece of advice, the biggest thing that you think you would give to someone like me or your younger self that it would be just starting out?
My goodness, I think you're doing it. You're being extremely brave, reaching out to people multiples of your age with a lot of experience and asking these sorts of questions and learning. I think being open to learning is a gift, and you almost have to teach yourself to do that, but it seems like you already know it instinctively, and I think that's remarkable. And I can't believe how many followers you already have on YouTube. That's incredible. And so you're doing the right things, reaching out, networking, socializing, building up that network that I talked about earlier on. You're already doing that. I never even thought of that at your age. I couldn't even conceive of it. And I think what you're doing is remarkable.
What's your favorite just sport or hobby?
Well, cycling. I did a lot of cycling when I lived here in Toronto, but took it to another level in Vancouver because there's a lot more mountain climbing to be done there. So I do a lot of road cycling. I probably do 100 days a year of cycling, and that's about 6,000 kilometers a year, and it's a lot of vertical in Vancouver in particular, and it helps keep me fit and alert, and I enjoy it, being outside in a beautiful environment where I live in Vancouver, with the ocean on one side, the mountains on the other, is a gift.
Thank you, Mr. David Garofalo, and see you next time in Trailheads and Titans. Thank you, and please leave a subscribe and a like.